Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you for this time. Father, you are the great I am, and you supply and provide all our needs, and we just thank you that you do that through different people, through your word, through just however you see fit. And Father, I just invite you by your Spirit to be amongst us this morning. I pray, Father, that what we present here today, that you will be glorified, and that people will see it's you at work in what we're doing to build your kingdom. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so I will start. I don't know what Carol said because I was in the mood when she did the introduction, but Paul and I, obviously we're from England, but we are missionaries in Kenya. We've been missionaries in Kenya for the last 7 years, although we've had our charity work in Kenya since 2007, I think it was. I take care of the charity side of the business or the work, and Paul takes care of the ministry side. So between us, I like to feel that I'm Jesus' hands and feet and he's Jesus' mouthpiece. So I like to feel we have all bases covered. So I'm going to talk just for half an hour, just 20 minutes probably, and update update you about the work that we're doing, and then Paul's going to bring a word about faith afterwards. Well, I think he actually planned to bring a word about faith, but often God gives him something else as he's driving in the morning, so you'll be in for a treat anyway, I hope. Okay, so when we've been building a school for orphans and disadvantaged children in Kenya for many years. In fact, we got our first donation to start building the school here, which is hence the name Celebration High School. Now, we were about to leave Kenya the year before last, and we just had enough money in the bank to put the roof on. So there we've got the eaves ready to take the roof. And Paul was walking by the building one day and the Lord said, go higher. So he said to me, I think the Lord's saying go higher. And I said, no, it can't be. We've just got enough money in the bank to put the roof on. So I'm sure you've heard wrong. Exactly the same thing happened the next day. He was walking past the school, the Lord said go higher, and then the following day as well. So 3 times. So by now it's getting my attention. So I said, okay, well he said it to you, but he hasn't said it to me, so I think I need to spend a day just praying and listening to what I feel God's saying. So I didn't go to the feeding programme on the Saturday. I stayed at home and I just said, okay, Lord, Paul thinks that you're saying we should go higher, but I'm sure you're not. And he said, yes, Paul did hear correctly. We go higher. We left Kenya, and we ended up knocking the eaves down and slabbing the roof, ready to take the third, in faith, ready to take the third level, build the third level. We actually then hit COVID. Everything went into lockdown, so all our presentations, everything that we had planned at different churches, we couldn't do. So it was like, oh, okay. Paul had a dream one night, and he felt that he was standing before God, and he said, okay, so how are we going to do this? And God just smiled. He woke up in the morning and he felt in his heart God had said, I've got this. So he said to me, I had a dream last night and I was standing before God, and he just smiled at me, but I felt he was saying, I've got this. So I said, well, that's good then. Because if it's God's will, then it's God's bill. And that has been what my take on everything that we've been called to do right from the beginning. If it's God's will, it's God's bill. It's up to God to provide. And so last year, at the beginning of last year, we found ourselves with this. So this is the completed building. We have gone up the third level, and we've actually built a worship centre at the top. Now the worship centre can take about 300 people, or 500 people.
No, 300 is what we're looking at. Yeah.
300 people. Now we are in a very densely populated Muslim area where we are, and so this is a wonderful opportunity for us to reach out to the Muslim community in the area with our service. It's predominantly a youth service. It's actually we run a youth encounter service, and we pinched the name from your old encounter service here, Encounter Jesus. So we've adopted it, Encounter Jesus service. And our students at the school and our Casuarina children at the orphanage have a worship band, and they do all the preaching, they do everything, and they invite people from the local area, youth from the local area, to come and join in, join us, and we do that on once a month. One particular Sunday afternoon, we had a really powerful service. You just felt the tangible presence of the Holy Spirit. It was just really heavy in the room, and there was a little boy there who actually was sick, who was ill, and he got prayed for and he got healed. So everyone was really, really excited that this had happened, and it kind of spilled over to the assembly the next day at school, and there was an altar call given, and 38 students came forward to give their lives to Jesus. And so that was a really exciting time. And then on the Tuesday, again, the same thing happened. We had a group in from Kenya called Excellent Youth Outreach, a Christian group, and they came in and they did an altar call, and we had another 17 students come forward to give their lives to Jesus. One boy, one of our students, he was a Muslim student. He came up to Paul and he said, "I really feel touched by what's happened, but I'm frightened, and I just don't feel that I can go forward." And then on the Wednesday, we had another 7 students give their life, and he was one of them. So it was a very exciting time. We thought, okay, now we've got 62 students that have actually become Christians. Do they really know what it means? Do they know how their life's going to be altered? So we decided to run a Youth Alpha course. Now, I don't think you're familiar with Youth Alpha here, but in England we have Youth Alpha, and it's exploring Christianity. Who is Jesus? Why read your Bible? Going to church, sharing your faith, lots of different subjects. So we decided to run this at school for these 62 students. But lo and behold, we opened it up to the whole school, and we had 120 students sign up to do this Youth Alpha course, which was very powerful. We were talking, one of the subjects is helping them to discover their purpose, God's purpose for their life, and how they can pray, how they can increase their faith. So it was really, really helpful. On the last day, we had one of our Muslim students. She gave her life to Jesus. So I'm not going to mention any names, and perhaps you want to go on to the next slide.
Okay, well there she is receiving her.
Yeah, she actually was. Yeah, she used to be on our feeding program, where we feed 500 orphans on a Saturday, and she was actually given. She was given a calling letter to come to Celebration High School. She was fortunate enough to get a sponsor that enabled her to come to the high school. This is actually. It's a video. I'm going to show you this video. Before you click it on, I'm just going to say we were fortunate. I'll show you the video. Okay, we've watched. Okay, we were fortunate enough last year. We were given a very generous donation, and which was very timely, as we were able to purchase a plot of land next door to the school. We have 46 students that are actually doing agriculture for their final exams this year, and they all needed a plot of 6 by 6, or I don't know, 6 by 8. They all needed a plot each, and we had no spare land, but we were able to purchase this plot of land right next door to the school. So this is just the students preparing that plot. For their to grow some maize and skumawiki, ready for their exams at the end of this year.
think mine like 10 by 8, or 10 by 6.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure. I don't know the exact size of it.
Yeah.
So actually quite good, because at the moment we're really suffering in Kenya with the price of everything's gone up. I mean, foodstuffs is doubled in Kenya at the moment. So once these students have finished their exams and growing what they need to grow, they will be able to take them home to eat them to their families and have them to eat there. So we feel that we're not just, we're a Christian high school, so it's very important to us, the spiritual growth of the children. Obviously we're interested in their education and developing their education, but also we are kind of in a position to look after them physically as well. So it's the whole package that we are looking, the whole person really that we're looking at. We recently had, I think it was, when was it? Beginning of this month, end of last month. We had a Happy World Menstruation and Hygiene Day, there's a lot of stigma attached, and in fact girls will won't come to school if they have their period because it's embarrassing. They sometimes stuff rags in their knickers. So we were wanting to train the girls and help the girls, and not to have this stigma attached or be afraid. This is our matron at the medical centre who is giving the training, and they've got here: be loud, be proud, be period positive. So we were actually it was a fun day. They sent me a video of it, but it's too long to show you. We even had the boys. It wasn't just the girls, it was actually the boys as well. The boys had training because they all have siblings at home, sisters that are in the same position. So it's important that they understand, and they're not making fun or anything of the kids, of their siblings.
Oh, you got that video?
That's the video.
Oh, this is a video?
This is at the end. We gave all the girls soap and sanitary wear, and this is them receiving it.
One boy, Peter, in the middle of that, he was actually being used to help the training to get involved.
Yeah,
some of the boys.
Peter is our he's our Mr.
Personality.
He's Mr. Personality of Celebration High School. He was helping demonstrate how to put the pad in the knickers along with one of the male teachers, because it's all inclusive. So but he had the right. He wasn't nervous to do it. Okay, so just moving on to Casuarina House. Casuarina House, but many of you know, is our children's home, which we started this is what started us. We weren't even missionaries in Kenya then. I was just a charity worker volunteering, going back and forth to Kenya, and God asked me to build an orphanage. So these were the children when we first built the home. In fact, I'll just tell you about Happy. Because William's been talking about faith today. This is a faith story for us. But this little girl here, Happy, now she came to us. Mum was a Malaya. She was a prostitute, and she used to sleep with men to get money for food to feed her children. Happy was one of her children, and she would charge. More, there's a whole condom thing that they don't like to wear condoms, the men in Kenya. So she would charge
more. She did
more if they didn't.
Yeah,
that's
whatever.
it. I'm trying to get my head around it. So anyway, so she used to have sex, unprotected sex, and then she died. So we had Happy come into Casuarina House, our children's home, and she had a surviving grandma and grandpa, but they were very, very old. Now, while she was staying with us, the grandfather died, and Happy went home to see the grandmother to go to the burial, and didn't come back. So we kept visiting, and Happy was nowhere to be seen. And every time we visited, she wasn't there, and we were very concerned. And then our house dad went to see the grandmother, and she said, if you want her back, you can buy her back. That was what the grandmother said. She wanted to keep her to do all the jobs in the house. So I went to see the grandmother, Paul went to see the grandmother, we all went to see the grandmother to try and explain to her how much better off Happy would be staying with us, going to school, getting an education. She could then get a job and she would be able to help the grandmother. No, the grandmother said, if you want her back, you buy her back, which obviously we could not do. So we were on our knees from that moment on, praying, Lord, bring Happy back. However you do it, bring her back.
She was with her grandmother. Her
Yes.
grandmother wasn't cruel or horrible.
She wasn't cruel to her.
So
Yeah.
it was in a sense it was okay. It's just that we knew she would be better off if she was with
Yeah.
us.
Anyway, her and also our cook Salim, he used to visit. He lived near the grandmother and Happy, so he used to actually visit every week to make sure she was okay. So we knew how she was. 9 years later, in fact, last year, Paul and I stayed over at Casuarina on a Thursday night. Happy, somebody came into our room and said, you've got to visit her. And it was Happy. And she said, can I have a place at Celebration High School? And we were like, oh, I said, it's an answer to prayer, she's come back. So we've actually now taken her, she's got a sponsor and she's come into Celebration High School. And it was like, we'd been praying for 9 years, Lord, bring her back. And it wasn't how we expected him to bring her back, because we expected him to bring her back to Casuarina, but he didn't. He brought her back and we got her at the high school. So we've got her at the high school for 4 years. And my son is sponsoring her because he knows her, and he said, no, she's actually an E student. So it's really hard to give sponsors an E student.
That's failing.
Yes, that's it. But my son's known her from the time he taught, and he said, no, I'll sponsor her. So, but as the children you saw were very tiny there, now they're grown up. This is a lot of years later, and 3 of ours now, this is Rahima, is actually, she's kind of like our star student because she's actually doing a 4-year law degree at Nairobi University. She's in her 2nd year. Nicholas has actually left. He's actually our first one that's completely gone and he's living independently. He's actually, well, I say he's living independently, he's staying in our house at the moment to say he doesn't but he has flown the nest, and he is a computer teacher at a college in Mtwapa. And Lois is in her 2nd year of a marine engineering course. So they are well on their way to being independent, which makes us makes us think, what are we going to do with Casuarina? And Casuarina House is our children's home, which we've opened in 2009, and we've been praying for the last 2 years. Lord, the children are getting older now. What do you want us to do with the home? Because the Kenyan government, in their wisdom, are closing down orphanages, so we can't take new children because there's a lot of stigma attached for the government of having so many orphanages in Kenya, so they're all being closed down. It's just by the grace of God that we haven't had a closing down letter yet. So we were thinking about different ideas about maybe turning it into boarding facilities for girls at the high school. But it's like the Lord's got his own ideas really, and we've had the 2 in the middle, Lillian and Masha. They're actually students at our high school. Now, I have to be careful what I say because we're on camera. But Lillian was in a very difficult situation. She was living with a pastor, and the son was kind of hitting on her, coming on to her. So she'd woken up the night before. She came into me in school and she said, "Mum, can I speak to you?" I said, "Of course you can, Lillian. What's wrong?" She told me that the night before she'd woke up and he was lying on top of her. This is the son of the lady pastor. So we scooped her up and took her to Casuarina for her safety. Masha had an incident where he's got an elderly dad of 86. He was actually living with a guardian in the village so that he could come to the high school. But the guardian died, so Masha was left high and dry, nowhere to live, no food, no nothing. So we took him into to Casuarina, to the orphanage as well. And we've also got another boy, a third boy, Jacob, who actually his dad died and his mum remarried, and the new dad and him didn't get on and came to fisticuffs, and he was sleeping on a mattress on the floor in his church. So we took him into Casuarina. So although we have our own ideas, it seems like God's turning it into some kind of refuge, safe place, safe house for our children to be whilst they're at the high school. So we're just being very prayerful about over the next few years, because we've only got a couple of years and all the children will be gone. Hopefully, if we can get rid of them.
Yeah, this is one of our brightest students, Kadengi.
Yeah, he's our youngest boy.
He's like the top of his school, and he's now just gone off to high school.
To boarding school.
And Juma here, who is kind of like very much a personality guy, and he's great on the mic, and he can project. And we call him our MC whenever he's around. And he's just taken on a electrical.
Friends with the electrician, yeah. So he's our oldest boy at Casuarina at the moment, and he's 20, and Kadengi's 18, but he's just gone off to boarding school.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Who are these?
Who are these? Who's this motley group? You will see Renee there, and Larry, and Jerry, and Carol and Bill.
Yeah.
Who else? If you look carefully. So this is just to let you know that we have a mission trip coming up. You can come out to Kenya. Our next mission trip is leaving here on the 16th of February. And we have a separate meeting for anyone who's interested in coming on the mission trip on July the 31st. After the 11:11 service in the expansion. So anyone who's interested in coming, but it's an opportunity to have a wonderful vacation on the edge of the Indian Ocean, but it's with a difference. It's like the best of both worlds, because you see the tourist side of it, you see the lovely hotel in the Indian Ocean, you go on safari. This is the group on safari, but you also get an opportunity to volunteer with our projects. Jerry taught in the school, I think Bill did as well. Rennie, did you teach? I know.
No, I didn't.
teach.
You know, COVID. You know, I was afraid.
So, but it's an opportunity to volunteer with our projects as well as have a wonderful vacation. One of the things that the group most like doing is actually the feeding programme. On a Saturday, we feed 500 orphans with a hot meal of maize and beans, and then they take some bags of maize flour home with them. So they've got something to cook and eat in the week. They're all orphans that are local to us in the village, and the group helped to serve the food and to give out the maize flour. They also helped at the club. We run a club beforehand. It's called 500 Club. It's just before the feeding programme, because we were kind of figuring a few years ago, well, we're feeding these children physically, but we're not feeding them spiritually. So we began this club so that all the children could come to the club beforehand, and we have Bible stories, we have songs, we have games, and we are in a very highly populated Muslim area, and 60% of the children on the feeding programme do come from Muslim families. I mean, we did have we are seeing fruit from what we're doing. I know I'm not supposed to say it, but I've got to say it. Is it right to say it on camera? Yeah. Okay. You have to be careful, because we don't want to be putting anybody in trouble. But we had a little Muslim girl who came to the club, and she asked one of the leaders, could she have a Bible to take home? And when she took it home to her Muslim parents, they said, you can't bring that in here. We're Muslims. So they just let her take it in and just put it away. And then during the week, a pastor from another church was going door to door, praying for people around the village, and he knocked on the door, and they had a sick relative, and he came in and he prayed for the family, and he prayed for this sick relative, and he got healed. And so the whole family got converted, so they,
Wow.
they all became Christians. So seeds from little ones are, you know, they're watered and they grow. This is a little video of the group. We like to totally humiliate anybody who comes, and this is them just taking part in the games and what we're seeing. They're telling the story in English and they have a Swahili translator.
They were throwing, they had to stick. These marshmallow things are going in the area. And the team with the most stuck to your face, then you won. Yeah.
So it's like shaving foam. They all got,
Yeah.
wasn't it? And
Yeah.
it was melting. It was so hot. It was dripping off your face. And then the children have to throw like what are they called? Cheerios. Throw it and see how many they can stick on the face of the volunteer. Okay, so that's kind of bringing you up to date. Our future plans. Next year we are very excited that we're opening our Bible school next year on the 6th of February. These are our Christian Union students, and there will be some of these that will be due to leave the school. It will be their final year, their 4th year. But some of them in the Christian Union will want to, we hope, will want to stay on and do a year's Bible training. And you know, people send missionaries to Kenya, but we want to send missionaries out from Kenya, all nations to nations. So this is Paul's baby, really. This is his heart. Do you want to say something?
Actually, this
about it?
guy here is always praying.
Oh.
He just walks around with his Bible. And this chap here too loves preaching. So these are guys who will possibly join us for the Bible college. And
But it's a
something
year's
else.
course, isn't it? And then at the end of the year, the plan is to take them maybe over to Uganda or to Tanzania and to do some outreach in a neighbouring, on a mission trip next door. Yes.
Our deadline is to
How many
create.
classes have you had graduate?
This will be the first
first
class.
one.
This will be the first year.
Yeah, so
yes.
what we're saying is like at the end of their 4th year, some of them will go off to college, some of them hopefully, some of them might go to get like an apprenticeship somewhere, or you know, job, yeah, whatever. And some of them we hope will just stay in the school one more year to do a Bible course, which is what we want to do with them.
So are you seeking sponsors for those? Or
For the
how are you
Bible
working
course,
that?
yeah, I mean maybe the ones who are already sponsoring them, we might just first of all ask them whether they'd like to sponsor them for one more year.
Otherwise,
but
we will be coming with our
yeah.
begging bowl.
Yes, otherwise we will be saying, we've got a couple of students here, does anyone want to?
Yeah.
do
That's
that
what
for
we're
Bible
hoping,
college?
that we'll write to the ones
Yeah.
that are already
Sponsoring
supporting
it,
them.
yeah, yeah.
So
We'll see
so
what
watch
happens.
this space.
And also, obviously, our plan is that people will then recycle first year if they've finished their 4th year.
That's what we're hoping,
And then
because
take-
every year we have to find 60 new sponsors. which is actually quite hard. So we're hoping that the ones that have been sponsoring up to Form 4 will then start again with Form 1. Sorry, did you?
How much does college cost for these kids? How easy is it? Does the government give any support?
No, the government don't do anything.
Except complain.
Except
They
for
come
trying
round
to get
making
money out
rules.
of us. No, so it depends what course they do. I mean, it's roughly, Juma's doing an electrical engineering course, which is about £1,000, which is
$150.
what's that, about $120,000. Rahema, who's doing the law degree, hers is really expensive.
So
it's
we have two
about
sponsors.
$1,500 a year. So she has more than one sponsor to
Those are Kenyan dollars. You
No,
just-
dollar, no, dollar. I'm trying to think of it in dollar. My mind goes from sterling to dollars to Kenya shillings. No, 120,000. No,
No, it's gotta be
120.
12, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's gotta be 12,000, doesn't it?
Oh, is it?
Oh yeah,
Yes,
12,000. Sorry,
It is.
yes.
You said 120.
Yes.
Oh, no,
That's-
sorry.
Yes,
No,
that's students, yeah.
no, it's not that.
You're right.
$12,000. I apologise. $12,000 it's costing for the electrical engineering course. Rahema's is costing that
More than that,
like
3,000.
every year, you know, it depending on the course, depends on, but the average kind of cost of a course for is about $1,500 a year. Which, if I know it probably is compared to here. I know certainly compared to England, it's low, but
Well, it's something that if you wanted to keep going with your kids, if it's like 5,000 or under, most college then per year that they could
yes,
get.
they're usually, depending on the course, it could be a year's course, it could be, Rahema's is a 4-year course, Juma's is a 2-year course, so it just depends on the course, how long the course is.
So is the 12,000, is that for the whole course for so many
Per
years?
year.
That's
Per
12,000 per year?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And do they place them there?
No, sorry. For Rahema's, it's about 12,000 each year, but for Juma's, it's 12,000 for the 2-year course.
Oh, okay.
It just depends on the
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
type of course they're doing.
And how much is it to sponsor in the school that you have?
It's $500 a year, $42 a month if you want to do it on a monthly give. And they're at high school for 4 years.
And how are you doing with inflation and the Feed the 500?
It's a nightmare. We just literally last week, we've had to, I was just saying at the last presentation we did 2 weeks ago, how we've been able to maintain the amount of food that we're giving out to the children, but we've had to cut it because our maize flour has gone from, for 12 packets, it's gone from 1,200 a bundle to 2,500 a bundle shillings. So we've actually had to half, as from last week, we had to half the amount that we were giving to the children. It's what's that? I've got to think of it in $1,200 is about, sorry, 1,200 shillings is about $100. No,
Yes.
is it?
It's about.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
So 1,200,
Yeah.
120. $120.
$120, yes. So
But
it costs us in dollars every month. It was costing us $1,500 a month to feed 500 children, and it's now gone up to, well, $2,500. So it's gone up so much. All the foodstuffs in Kenya have doubled in price, literally in this last.
But that's
couple of
another
weeks.
thing people can do is send, didn't you say packages or something?
Yes,
to
what we're
help
finding
support?
is, thank you Joel for reminding me, because what we're finding is, you see, if you're sponsoring a child at the school, that does include lunch every day, but what we're finding is that when the children are on vacation, they come to school saying, we're so hungry, because for most of them, that's the only meal that they get, is their school meal. So they're coming to us in the vacation time saying that how hungry they are and what can we do. So what we've said to sponsors is, if you would like to give your child a food package, if you'd like to donate to give your child a food package, they can take that home during the vacation time, and then they will have something for them and their families to eat. The food packages are now $20. We were $15 before, we're now $20 on the food package.
And that would be an extra per week? Or-
No, that will feed them for about a month. That will give them a supply of beans, rice, tea, sugar, oil, and that's
Salt.
about it. And salt.
Salt.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, so
Yes,
the
and
amount
salt.
we're paying now, if we add an extra $20, then they're taken care of. And do we put food package or?
Yes, you can put food package, and then we can make sure that during the vacation time, that the children. I mean, you don't have to do it as a regular give, although you can. You can do it as a one-off.
But don't their families need it too on a regular basis?
Yes,
Okay.
because remembering that all our students do come from very poor
And
families.
even if you don't sponsor someone, you can still
Yes.
send out. you know,
Absolutely.
a
Yeah, if you don't
monthly
sponsor
gift,
someone,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can say, I'd like to give a poor child a food package and donate $20.
You're welcome to send any domination in any kind of currency, and they'll figure out what to do with it. God keeps giving them a bill that they need to pay.
Here though, the church here, what happens with the church here, anybody who wishes to donate or wishes to sponsor a child can do it through Compres, and then twice a year Carol sends the money out, usually in the summer and then December time. It sends it direct to our Kenyan charity account, so it's just going through one currency change, one transaction, because our charity is actually registered in England, but obviously it's a pound sterling account, so there's no point in sending it to England and then to Kenya, because then you're losing out. So to send it straight, to do it through the church, and it also means that the church pay the transaction, so we don't have any transaction costs either by doing it like that. So.
Is a twice a year distribution
It's roughly, isn't it?
Would it be quarterly or?
Sorry?
Well, what he's doing is really saving the money at the bank by having only 2 transactions. Well, I mean, we will continue to use the money on a regular basis, knowing that it's coming or knowing that it's, it's there. So yeah, so we would spread it out.
Well, our biggest costs come in December, you see, because we have to buy uniforms, shoes, books for the new intake of students. So usually Carol sends the money in December, because that's the bulk of the time that's the important time to have it. But we also, I mean, I think sometimes it's 3 times a year. It actually varies. Sometimes it's 3 times a year, and sometimes it's 2. I usually say,
Yes.
we need some money.
Send us some money.
How much
We
is
could
in
do
the
this now.
account?
Yeah.
Yes, I usually message Carol and just say, yeah, we're needing this, and this.
I was excited to see Riziki's name and picture up there. If you remember, on your table downstairs. Little girl named Riziki.
Yeah.
Okay, what happened was last year, I was assigned to her to sponsor.
Oh,
And
okay.
then I got a note and said, oh no, she didn't
No,
make good
actually,
enough
she's
grades.
still not here. They were photos I had from last year,
Oh,
just to stick on the board.
I was so excited to see that she got her grades up.
No,
No.
I'm sorry, she hasn't. She,
They're actually
because
old
they're old
photos.
photos, and I just wanted to put a sort of like a
Okay.
display down there.
Yeah.
So
So
if they don't have good grades, they can't come?
No,
no.
No,
She didn't have a C average, so she couldn't come, so I got another assignment.
what happens was, when they leave primary school, they have to do final exams, and they have to, this is the law in Kenya, if they don't get a certain grade, 250 is the pass mark. If they don't get that, they cannot progress to high school. So sometimes we have students in mind to come, but they haven't got the grades, so they have to repeat where they are at primary school.
And also, because some of the children start late as well, they don't necessarily start at the beginning. They may be, in the primary school, the mother or a father has actually now got some money to pay for the uniform and the books for the primary school, so they send them then. But they might start like at 9 years of age or something and have to catch up. I mean, Kadengi, who we showed you, who's really smart in his class, I mean, he must have been 7 or 8 when he started school. So,
When he came to Kashmir,
Yeah.
that's his first time he went to school.
Yeah.
So
I was just gonna say, and there is no government or public high school.
there's government elementary,
Right. But then.
but and that's free. But for high school, if students want to progress to get a high school education, they have to pay. So that's why our hearts are for the orphans and disadvantaged, those that are bright but don't have the opportunity without assistance. So
With the notable exception of one or two young people, is that most all of us, we had our 8th grade graduations. Do you remember going through a graduation ceremony in the 8th grade? Okay, that would be primary school. And then we graduated into high school, but when I was growing up, some of the guys that were, 6 feet tall and their father's farms, or they left school and went and worked with their parents. So this is the same thing, only in the United States is that the government still pays for those 4 years. But in Kenya, you only get the 1 through 8 and then 9 through 12. That's where we come in.
that's
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
yeah.
But that's how some of us will remember that.
Yes, that's good, thank you. Yeah.
Did you go to the 8th grade graduation?
Yeah, what are some of the titles of the courses you teach?
Titles of the courses.
You mean for the Bible course or for the Bible course?
The Bible course.
This is
Any of them?
Oh no, well actually the Bible courses we're at the moment running through a lot of subjects, like the normal ones you do in Bible college. So looking at Bible history, looking at New Testament studies, looking at Old Testament studies, going through different things of knowing God and significance and things like that. So those normal things. We have 1 year course, and in it we're going to do quite a bit about evangelism and outreach. So that will be our main themes. So during that year, normal courses that they just run
the
with
school. You mean
school.
the school
Both.
courses?
Yeah, no.
Well, we have to abide by the Kenyan curriculum. So I think the children do about 14 subjects, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's a
it's-
lot, yeah.
It is a
Yeah,
lot,
yeah,
like
yeah.
English, maths, social, RE,
geography,
geography,
agriculture.
history, agriculture. There's about
Sciences, yeah.
Yeah.
sciences, yes. So
They
they
take English and Swahili, right?
and Kiswahili, yes. So in fact, all their lessons are in all their lessons and their exams are in English. So they have to take it in that language.
Yes, I have a question. You mentioned earlier that the kids that stay 1 year longer after they complete the high school, they're going to be trained is to minister, or when they finish that year, they're going to be able to go out and
Yes.
spread the word.
Yes,
And
it's our students from the Christian Union, the ones that are due to leave to go on to college or whatever. There will be some of them that will want to stay and do a year's Bible training and go out and evangelise and do this.
So our actual week will be like we're doing probably 3 days of study. We'll do 1 day of actually going out evangelizing, and then we'll have a day in together to actually review what we studied and what happened and how the week was. So that's probably how our week will be breaking
So
up.
it could be running the same days that the school is open, so they will have the vacation time off. And then you want to take them out evangelising on a Thursday, don't
Yeah,
you?
that'll be 1 day a week. Yeah.